Welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to be going over another worksheet, and there's some concepts. For this one, we're specifically focusing on the orders of operation, specifically on division. You can see we're doing division word problems, division practice, division with remainders, and just a quick review. So before we get into division, I wanted to just jump straight into some review with multiplication. Now, as all of you guys know, we have to first write it out. We have to line up the numbers with their respective place values. So, we all know that. So here, I lined up the numbers with their respective place values. You can see this is the tens place for both numbers, and this is the ones place for both numbers. Now that I have them all lined up, I can just go straight on multiplying. But let me just remind you guys of some important rules. So the first one is, when we are multiplying, we go from right to left in the bottom number. This is if there are two numbers. With the same number of place values, we go from right to left in the bottom number. So, for example, we can't just do this. We can't just multiply 45 by 27. We have to go from right to left. So, in this case, we would ignore this 2 here. And we would just go 45 times 7. That's what we would do. We would ignore the 2 first. We go from right to left. Now, once we finish multiplying everything by 7, we ignore the 7. And then we multiply everything by 2. So it would look like this. After we multiply everything by 7, it would look like that. Okay, and then after we multiply everything by their respective numbers, everything by 7 and everything by 2, then we can go, after you multiply everything by the first number, we always put a 0 as a placeholder. This is just a rule you have to memorize, but let's say we only multiplied everything by 7, right? So we have to put only 1 0, but let's say we multiply everything by 2 numbers, then we put 2 zeros, and so on. Okay, let's just dive right into it. We're going to ignore the 2, like always. So 5 times 7 is, we bring on the 5, and it's 35, and we carry over the 3. Okay, so 7 times 4 is 28, plus 3 is 31. Okay, now remember our rule, we have to add a 0 because we multiplied everything by one number, which is 7. Now we ignore the 7. Now we ignore the 7, and now we just do everything multiplied by 2, like I said, from right to left. Okay, so 4 times, and we should ignore the 3 too. Let me just ignore that 3, because we already added it. So 5 times 2 is 10, right? Bring down the 0, carry over the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus the 1 is 9. Okay, and now that we have everything, we just add everything together. So 5 times 0 is, or 5 plus 0 is 5. 1 plus 0 is 1, and 3 plus 9 is 12. And so our answer is 1,215. Okay, let's move on to division with remainders. We're going to do the highlighted problems only. So let's see, we have 39 divided by 5. Now this is not in the doghouse form. And what is the doghouse form, you ask? The doghouse form is this. So there's a doghouse here, and then there's a dog on the outside, which is and then there's a number in the inside, the dog on the inside, which is a number. So in this case, the second number here, 5, would be outside the doghouse, and the first number is going to be inside the doghouse. This is just a rule. It's always a rule. The first number is inside the doghouse. The second number is outside. Okay, now that we have our doghouse, we can just go ahead and divide. We're trying to find how many times 5 can go into 39. Obviously, can't go directly into 39 because this is division with remainders. So we have to find the closest value multiplied by 5 that will give us the closest thing to 39. Now, let's just go through what we can get to get closest to 39. So 5 times 1 what times 5 is going to be closest to 39? 5 times, let's see, 5 times 5 is 25, not close enough. 5 times 6 is 30. And 5 times 7 is 35. But 5 times 8 is 40. We go over. We cannot go over in terms of that. We can only go closest to the number, but we cannot go over the number. So in this case, we have to use the number 7, right? Because that's the closest. Because 7 times 5 is 35. So if you plug in 7 here into the second number, we put the 7 here and not here because 5 cannot go into 3, right? 5 can go 7 times into 39, but it cannot go 7 times into 3, which is why we put it here. Okay. So 39 minus 35 is just 4. And that's our remainder. Or it's 7. To put it in the format, it's 7R4. R stands for remainder. Okay. Now more division practice. This might look weird because it's put in fraction form, but it is not as weird as you can think. This is actually just the same thing as 65 divided by 3, which is the same thing as, remember, the number at the beginning. The first number goes in the doghouse, because this is basically trying to say how many times can 3 go into 76. So 76 has to be in the doghouse, and 3, the second number, goes on the outside. This is equal to this, and this is equal to this. Okay, now we can just do what we did before. So okay, let's just see here. Can 3 go into 7? Yes, it can. How many times? Let's see. 3 times 1 is 3. Can we go closer than that? Yes. 3 times 2 is 6. So we plug in 2. 3 times 2 is 6. We subtract. Bring down, it's 7 minus 6 is 1. And we bring down the 6. Actually, let me just do this somewhere where I have more space. Okay. Okay, well, so we decided that 3 goes 2 times into 7, which is 6. Bring down 7 minus 6 is 1. We down to 6. So can 3 go into 1? No, it can't. Can 3 go into 16? Now, yes, it can go into 16. How many times can it go into 16 without going over 16? Okay, let's think. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. But 3 times 6 is 18. That's going over. So we have to do 3 times. So they can only go into 16 5 times without going over. So we subtract both the numbers, and we get 16 minus 15 is 1. So our answer is 25R1. So the steps of division are this. You set it up so the dividend, or the first number, is in the doghouse, second number outside the doghouse. Then we see if the number can go into the first into any of the numbers here. So in this case, 3 went into 7 2 times. Then we subtract 3 times the value of 3 times 2, and we bring down the other number. And then we see if this number can go into 3 without going over. And we just subtract the value of 3 times the number it can go into.